Hi, listeners. Welcome back to Social Season Events Podcast. This is our second podcast in our International Women's Day series. And on the podcast today, we've got myself, Tamia, who's head of marketing for Social Season Events. We've got Chan.
So, hi, I'm Chan, and I'm the team leader of Social Seasons Events.
And
hi, I'm Aisha, and I'm the creative director for Social Season.
And today we've got a guest on our podcast, and that is Zaina, and she's an illustrator, so she's an artist. So Zaina, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Hiya, I'm Zaina. I'm an illustrator. I'm from Birmingham. I've done a bit of freelance work, a bit of commission work here and there, and I'm just trying to build up my portfolio at the moment.
Lovely. So, our first question for you, well, the most important question is, are you ready to spill some secrets today?
Yeah, of course.
So, let's get into it. So, how did you find your passion? Like, how did you know this is what you wanted to do?
I think, I've always known that I've liked art, like ever since I was really little. I studied it in school, carried it on through A-levels, and then I went to university to do fine art and illustration.
Oh, wow.
So, I've stayed studying it and just pursued it.
Do you feel like studying it, like knowing more about actual art, not just being able to do art, but like knowing more about it, like built up the passion for it as well, like understanding it more?
A little bit. I think even though I went to university to do fine art and illustration, when I was there, I didn't actually focus on illustration for some reason. It wasn't until 4 years after when I was at university, which was 4 years, and I left and graduated, that I actually started getting into illustration, which is weird. But studying it does help. It helps I think it helps more on the business side of things, and like building up a following and portfolio and stuff like that, and networking. But you have to have the passion and interest, I think, to carry on with it yourself, really.
And that runs perfectly onto our next question. So, as a woman in business, what actually drives you? Like, what drives you to want to do it?
Yeah. A lot of it, I think, is seeing other people, honestly, and seeing how other illustrators, how well they're doing, because I think it's easy to think that you're not going to get anywhere. And illustration, it's obviously not a big career, and it's not something that people think of all the time as a career. Mm-hmm. But seeing other, especially female illustrators, do well, it's super inspiring. It inspires me the most, I think.
I love that. I love it.
So, with all the experience that you've gathered over the years, what is a piece of advice that you would tell your younger self?
Probably just stay consistent, which I still need to do. I still have to practice consistency, and don't stop creating. Definitely.
And then another question is, so what empowers you? So you're this woman in business, you're an illustrator, and you're doing well, and you're trying your hardest to do well in COVID times. What actually empowers you?
You know what? Actually, it sounds weird because I know social media is seen so negatively, but probably my feed on Instagram, and other people. Again, I think I've created my feed to be really positive, and I don't follow many influencers. It's mostly artists and people who do push like the empowering narrative, and a lot of women in art and the creative industry, and that's quite empowering.
So would you say that you focus in and home in more on your aspirations and your goals? Like, that's where you spend most of your time focusing and looking at, and that's what you're filling your head with? That's the stuff that you've got going on?
On Instagram?
Yeah.
As in, like, my stuff on Instagram will see other people's stuff?
Just in general. Is that a bit of a weird question? We can scrap that.
I feel like I know what you're trying to say. I think you're trying to say, like, obviously my Instagram is a lot of influencers, a lot of clothing brands, a lot of the mainstream, like what everyone sees, what like does pressure women a lot to look a certain way, act a certain way. Whereas your Instagram feed, from what you said, is like inspiring and just like homing in on art and what you want to do, rather than all this unnecessary like background noise sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost like challenging stereotypes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I follow do exactly that. I think it's probably a common thing in the creative industry or like the online creative world as well to do that. But before I had this Instagram account, I had my previous one that I'd used for years and years, and it was only about a year and a half ago that I made a new one. But I totally scrapped the other one because that was my Instagram feed before, and it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't inspire me at all. But now that I follow only artists and creative people, it helps a lot, especially with productivity and creating all the time.
Definitely. So I think for our listeners, that's something that they can definitely take away, to have an Instagram, or maybe it's a separate account that you'll use in your business hours, and that you'll use like times when you want to feel inspired. I can't lie, I've actually got an Instagram that I do use for that, and I tell people around me to do the same thing. So I'm so glad.
2 Instagrams. This girl's a catfish. I always knew.
That's about 5. I can't lie. I've actually got about 5.
No way.
I use them for different things. So I think that's definitely a top tip, and that is a good secret that you shared with us today. I'm so happy you've done that. Do you want to shout out your page or your website? Is there anything that you want to say?
My Instagram is Zaina.Mayet. Do you want me to spell it out?
It's all right. You'll be on there somewhere. We'll put you up there.
Yeah, Zaina.Mayet, and then my website is zainamayet.com. Yeah, just my name, keeping it simple.
Love that.
Thank you. So is that the end of the podcast?
Yeah, I think it is.